Hi, I'm Pav.
And I'm Neil.
And welcome to the Top 10 of Anything podcast.
Let's start the countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The 90s, grunge, techno, Oasis versus Blur, girl power, long stays at number one. Was there a genre of music that defined the decade? I don't know, but there were some amazing songs in the 90s. We are here to sort them out. Here is special guest Ross with 10 90s music facts.
Hello, thank you, Pablo. So, first fact is Wonderwall originally had a different title. The infamous Oasis song's original title was actually Wishing Stone, written by Noel Gallagher, who said that it's about an imaginary friend who's going to come and save you from yourself. Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit got its title from a deodorant. The Verve didn't make a penny from 1997's Bittersweet Symphony for 22 years, having to forfeit royalties. Oops.
Carry on.
What happened there?
I thought that was the end of the fact. Sorry, I didn't realise there was another bit. Carry on.
We'll leave that fact where it was. Weezer released Buddy Holly on the day that would have been the legendary singer-songwriter's 58th birthday in 1994. Elton John re-recorded Candle in the Wind to honour Princess Diana in 97, but they only performed that song once at her funeral, despite repeated requests. Baby One More Time was not originally written for Britney Spears. Originally it was written for the Backstreet Boys. Mariah Carey had 14 number one singles on the Billboard Hot 100s in the 1990s, and although All I Want for Christmas was pipped to number one by E17's Stay Another Day, it eventually reached number one 26 years later in December 2020.
Jump up and get down.
Number 8, Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice wasn't supposed to be a hit. It was originally a B-side, and the song only caught on when a radio DJ played it in Georgia in the USA.
Somebody.
Number 9, Zombie was a protest song. The Cranberries song was written about the 93 IRA bombing in Warrington.
Everybody needs a bosom for below. Everybody needs a bosom.
Is that it?
And the last...
one more.
One more. The members of Criss Cross were very young when they recorded Jump. They were only 12 and 13 when they recorded the song in 91, and it was the fastest selling single in 15 years.
Oh, we got there in the end, Ross. Well done.
And that is the top 10.
That is the top 10. Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, it's top 10 90s songs.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. It's going well. I feel it's going well. I feel it's going really well. Right, so first of all, let's get it out of the way. Thank you very much, Ross. Ross is stepping in for Neil for the next few weeks. So thank you very much for that, Ross. You can say things. That's fine. Yes, you can.
My pleasure.
It is an audio medium, so you can talk. That's fine. And I do believe that that Neil will be back in a few weeks' time. So thank you very much, Neil, for getting yourself and not breaking any more bones. Thank you. Bless your heart.
Well done, Neil. Good luck.
Yes,
Good work.
Indeed. Our guest this week is a top head, which we've now. Thank you, Robin, for that for penning that phrase. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Maria.
Hola. Hello.
Oh, it's wonderful to finally speak to you properly, Maria. How are you?
I'm well. I am just finishing up my workday, and so I'm just kind of winding down. I've got my cuppa in my favorite cup.
Nice.
So it says ABCDEFUCK for those of you who are listening.
Oh, of course, yes, that's right.
Yes, of course.
Right, now with your dulcet tones, I can detect a small little twang of a accent there. But I believe you are in the UK. That's right,
I
isn't
am.
it?
I
But you're
am.
not from the UK.
Oh no, I am not. We're living. So my husband's in the army, and we had the very lovely fortune of getting stationed here in the United Kingdom. So we are. I don't know how you separate regions, but East Anglia. So we're in St. Ives, Cambridgeshire,
Right. Yeah,
and
different counties, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and so it's quite nice. I like it a lot. It's a bit of a departure, but I'm glad that there's at least somewhat of a shared language.
Right, right. So where are you from originally?
I'm from Arizona originally.
Right, okay.
So I spent my time, like a lot of the teabaggers that are all listeners. I spent a lot of my time between Los Angeles, which most of them are from, I'm not, um, or Arizona. So my dad's from Los Angeles. And so I would bounce between those two locations quite a bit.
Okay, and if this is anyone's first top 10 episode, Teabaggers are that's the fan name for a cup of tea and a chat podcast, which you would have heard in a previous episode, which was my #1 podcast of all time. So just for clarification, there we don't get on.
It's not euphemistic. No,
it's not as much as you would hope it was, Ross. But there you go.
I can think of nothing else.
Indeed. Well, we're here to work out our top 10 90s songs. So now, Maria, are you a girl of the 90s? Is the 90s your decade? Is that the decade that you define as your favorite one for music?
You know, so I'll be turning 39 this year. And so I was starting to grow up and really start to notice music in the 90s. And so it kind of runs the gamut of stuff that I was shown. And this was also the decade where I started figuring out what my own personal tastes were. So
Right.
I don't know if I would call it my favorite specifically, but I have a lot of really heavy nostalgia attached to the 90s.
Right. What about you, Ross?
For me, I was born in 81, so I was between 9 and 19. So I've got a very young child at the start of the decade, at university or heading to university at the end of the decade. So quite a broad range of tastes developed through that. Yeah, and you know, when I was younger, it was like being in the Scouts and I don't know, doing kid things. So that you're just into lame stuff that I don't know, Elvis and stuff that my dad had kind of got me listening to, and Robson and Jerome Up on the Roof. But it developed a little bit over the decade.
So you've already told us what your #1 is. Then that's
right. Yeah, Up on the Roof. Yeah,
Up on the Roof. Okay. I did put in the show notes for the blurb for this episode that this, for me, is the last great decade of music. Because when you start getting into the 2000s, it was music that I had no idea what it was. A lot of the stuff. I think that's just age, because I'm obviously the granddaddy when it comes to this group of people here, which sounds very, very weird. I shouldn't have said that at all. Anyway, let's crack on. Maria, give us your number 10 then, please.
All right, so this one has a lot of heavy attachment to it. So my dad is what I suppose you would call a lorry driver on this side of the pond. So I spent a lot of time. He's still doing it. He's actually, Bean and I, both of our dads were born in the same year, so 1938, which is crazy. He could be my brother.
He could.
But it's Johnny Cash, I've Been Everywhere, which was off of his American Recordings, the second album that came out in 1996. And it's not necessarily like his specifically greatest song, because I fucking love Johnny Cash, and I will tell anybody who will listen, but it's just one that I always attach to, spending time with my dad and driving from California to Texas and back.
So, I must admit, I know the big Johnny Cash songs, and that's probably about it.
Mm.
Is this one that was a massive hit for him, or?
No, and it's actually a cover. So, I mean, honestly, a lot of country music was covered back in the day. And so this was not even his song. Sorry if you can hear my dog.
Paying a lot of attention there.
He's got opinions. It's not necessarily like his most popular, outside of like Ring of Fire and Hurt, which is now his song. But it's just one that I really love.
Yeah. Okay.
I call my dad the everywhere man because he's literally been everywhere.
Nice. Ross, you a Johnny Cash fan?
Yeah, I only have American 4, I think, which is the one with her and the Folsom Prison and what's the train one? I can't remember the name of the song, but Train's Gonna Run Away.
Oh gosh, there's so many.
Yeah, but that album, which is was great. I love that. But that's the only album I've got actually, so it's my favourite by definition.
Yeah, like I say, I only know the hits. I feel like he's one of those guys. Every song I've ever heard of his, I like, but I've never really done a deep dive into the rest of his stuff, which I think I should really. I'm very lazy.
I thought of you because you had mentioned liking Elvis quite a bit, and in one of your previous podcasts, and the last cross country trip that I had done across the U.S., we stopped in Memphis at Sun Studios.
Oh, really?
And I got to stop and wander around and see where he and Elvis and Carl Perkins and all of them recorded. It was amazing.
Wow.
It must be, to stand in a room like that, it must be, I mean, if the walls could talk, isn't it? Just, oh my God.
It was amazing. I wish I could have spent more time there, but it was so worth the 2,000 plus miles that I drove that time.
I can imagine going to like
I put a great deal of stock in being able to stand on the same piece of floor or touch the same thing that someone else could have touched who you revere. I'm going metal detecting at the weekend, and the thought of picking up a coin that was from Charles I's time or something like that, and knowing that that's several hundred years old and you're touching it after someone from that time touched it. So that kind of being in the same place must have been pretty emotional.
Well,
oh yes, absolutely.
We need to get on with building that time machine, Ross, don't we? So that we can just go back in time. Absolutely. Go on then, Ross, your number 10.
My number 10 is it was the song that made me buy my first ever album on cassette for £13 in '93. It was a Meatloaf, and I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that.
Wow. I mean, that's an epic, that was.
Yeah. So I bought that album, and then just listened to that quite a bit. I think I had 3 albums. That one, Elvis Essential Hits, and Robson and Jerome. And they were on rotate in my tape player.
Maria, do you know who Robson and Jerome are?
Only via panel show references, but I don't personally. I have no connection.
I mean, Jerome Flynn is someone. He was in Game of Thrones, wasn't he? Jerome Flynn.
Okay.
Yeah, he was. I don't know if you're a Game of Thrones fan at all, Maria.
We started to watch it. My husband read the books and he's like, fuck this, I don't want to watch it. I was like, okay, fine.
You saved yourself a lot of heartache there with the last series of it. I will give you that. It's a very good show until like the last couple of episodes where it really shit the bed. It really did. But let's not go down. Have you watched it, Ross? Have you watched Game of Thrones, or have I ruined it for you?
I've got the first 5 series, and I've watched about 4 or 5 episodes of the first series, and I haven't been able to get any further yet.
Oh, really?
But I have enjoyed them as I've watched them, but it's just attention. Got to pay attention to it as you're watching.
You do, and it's a bit like Lord of the Rings. There's all these different names that are thrown at you, and you don't know whether they're character names or place names, and it does take a while to get used to it. But this is me, and I'm a Star Wars fan, when there's nothing but blinkety blonk is going to bongity boo and all that kind of stuff. So,
so Robson, Jerome Flynn's in that, is he?
Jerome Flynn, yeah, I don't know what the name of his I don't know what his name of his character is. I'm not even going to try and make a character name up, but he's a sort of goodie that's a baddie.
I suppose Robson and Jerome are most famous for singing Unchained Melody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they were a massive duo, but they sang nothing but cover versions in the 90s and sold millions and millions of records. But they were both actors. They were originally in a TV show.
Simon Calvin.
Yeah. Originally in a TV show called Soldier Soldier. That was the original show that they were both put together for. Okay, my number 10 is Crazy by Aerosmith. I I'm again. Anyone's heard any of the musical episodes that we've done? Vanilla is my middle name when it comes to musical taste. I've said it a million times. As you'll find out, I've got mainly sort of soppy songs on my top 10 because that's my jam. That's what makes the world go round. But I think it was, what was the song from Armageddon? I Don't Want to Miss a Thing was the one. I mean, I didn't realise that they'd been going for like 40 years before that. Well, maybe not 40 years. That would put them in the 50s, wouldn't it? No. 70s, I think they started, didn't they? Late 60s, early 70s.
Oh, it couldn't have been. It had to have been late 70s, if anything.
Was it? Yeah.
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 Yeah, because the very first time I remember was Run DMC and Walk This Way, which was mid 80s, I think, wasn't it?
Because I mean, God, what is his name? He's old, but he's not quite there.
Steven Tyler.
Steven Tyler.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
He's gone into looking like your aunt now, like that cool aunt.
Oh dear, yeah. I mean, but he's still got an amazing voice. That's the one thing. There's a lot of these singers where their voices are now failing them, but he's been rocking for, even if we say 70s, that's nearly 50 years, and his voice is still like crazy. Oh, because the song's called Crazy. It's all circular. See, this all rhymes. But yeah, that's my number 10. Okay, then Maria, your number 9, then please.
My number 9 is definitely one that I would classify as one that I found for myself, because there's kind of the mix between like, growing up in the 90s, the early 90s, I had impressions from family and whatnot. And this one is one I found for myself. And that was Stupid Girl by Garbage.
Okay. That's a band that seemed to, I think, were a lot bigger in America than they were in the UK, I seem to find.
I think so. I really struggled because it was between that or No Doubt, which I love, but I love Shirley Manson, and Butch Vig as a drummer and a producer he's such a cool person. And so factoring all of that, it had to be Garbage over No Doubt.
Okay. I mean, you could have had both.
I mean, I could have.
I completely forgot about No Doubt.
What? No Doubt? You forgot about them? Come on, Ross. I mean, then
I forgot about them.
Robson and Jerome.
They may have well been in my top 10.
No, yeah, it is weird. I always find that like bands like Depeche Mode seem to be bigger in America than, I mean, they're big over here, obviously, but I don't think there's any one of my new American friends now that say anything bad about someone like Depeche Mode. And same with Garbage. It always seems to be one of those. Is it because their band name is Americanized? It's what we call it rubbish.
I mean, possibly. Well, because what is it? The bulk of the performers are from the U.S.
Scotland.
Shirley Manson.
Shirley Manson is. Oh, the rest of them.
She is.
Right.
Well, Butch Viggs is from Wisconsin,
right,
in the United States, and so I don't know if the rest of I don't know if the rest of the bandmates are also from the States, so that could be part of it. He also had like a production company in Wisconsin, so he may have already had the contacts in the States over, in the UK. But
yeah, so maybe I'm thinking of them as a British band when actually they're American.
Could be.
There you go. Go on then, Ross. You're number 9.
Number 9 is Zombie, which I mentioned in my one of my facts by the Cranberries. I don't have any real association with it beside it just being a great song. I think that's why I've got it there.
I was trying to think of another song. What was another one of their hits? The
Linger.
Cranberries. Linger, that's the one. See,
yeah, Linger was on the Music of the Millennium compilation as well.
No, they're great. I love her. Her voice was just phenomenal.
Yeah, that's one of the voices where as soon as you hear it, you know who it is. That's not a voice that is easily duplicated, is it? Yeah.
Not at all.
Another one that's left us as well. That's a good one though, Ross. Well done. Although I'm personally...
Thanks very much.
Personally, I'd have had Linger instead of this one, I must admit. Oh my God, what a great song. I just realised what a great song Linger is. It wasn't in my top 10. Okay, no, that's a good one. Well done, Ross. Double points.
Thank you very much.
That's okay.
Yes.
I've lost my top 10. Where'd my top 10 go? Oh, there it is. Right, okay, my number 10. Right, so I was talking just a second ago about artists that have lost their voices now. John Bon Jovi is one of those people that has just like bless him, John. I just think you need to take your money and just go off into the hills somewhere and enjoy your money. But Keep the Faith was the song that I wasn't really a big Bon Jovi fan until this song, and they sort of changed their image a little bit. They went from being like one of these hair rock bands into just doing some like really good stuff. And that album, Keep the Faith, and everything sort of the next 2 or 3 out These Days, I think was the album after. John Bon Jovi changed his haircut. He had quite this sort of almost Rachel from Friends kind of look. But some of the songs
dating David Schwimmer.
He may well have been. I don't know. He may well have been. But this was a song that was like a real departure from their kind of sound. And it was just a fantastic, typical sort of anthem for a stadium. And there's some great songs on the Keep the Faith album, and These Days as well. It's just, again, it's a shame where his voice has gone now. But that's the thing I don't understand, though. You've got someone like Steven Tyler, who's been probably singing for 10 years more than Bon Jovi, still can warble them out and screech out those notes. But if you've watched any of the John Bon Jovi live from like last year, it's embarrassing. I do feel sorry for him. But, you know, time's time, John, sometimes, you know. I don't know. Bon Jovi fans, Maria?
Sort of. That was kind of, you know,
Nah.
yeah, I'd listen to some top 40 type music, which is what he would have been in, but
Yeah.
I definitely gravitate more towards like angsty / angry.
Right, okay.
So it didn't quite hit my radar.
And I take it from that look on your face, Ross, that is a no from you.
It's a no from me. Yeah. Any artist you can do air guitar to, immediately fall into a camp of I don't want to care to listen to. Maybe from drunk nights out and people just constantly jumping around and doing air guitar. It just puts me off. So, yeah.
That's fair enough. If only all the arguments in the world could be sorted out that easily.
Yeah, it's not going to get me a job as a journalist on music, but
it's what you like, isn't it? That's the thing. Okay, then, Maria, your number 8, please.
Okay, so my number 8 it's from a band called Bad Religion. They're a punk rock band out of Southern California, and the song is American Jesus. And so, you know, kind of falling in line with like that angsty, screamy type stuff. They're very political, and they have a lot of social commentary. The lead singer has a PhD in zoology, and he has all these different books written. But it's just a really cool song, I think, and it kind of, it doesn't take the piss, because that's usually that's lighthearted ribbing. So it's not that. It's like a pointed commentary on how the United States views themselves as like, you know, praised by God essentially or something, and we're really not. And so I really love that. So that's one of my favorites of them.
That's another band that I hear a lot of American people like saying how great they are. If you wanted to go into something like Bad Religion from an entry level, what would be the best sort of album or songs to listen to?
It would be the album. I would personally suggest The Process of Belief from it was released 2002, specifically the song called Sorrow, because it's not particularly screamy, but it's got Greg Graffin, who's the lead singer of Bad Religion, has a phenomenal voice, particularly for a punk rock band. And that song especially is really quite good.
Okay. Ross, have you heard of Bad Religion?
I'm afraid I haven't. No. I will check them out though.
I think you should. While you're out doing your metal detecting next week, do metal detecting absolutely. And listen to some metal. I mean, would you class Bad Religion as metal?
They're more punk rock.
Punk rock.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's just various flavors of rock, honestly. Yeah. But they've been around since the early to mid 80s.
Wow.
And so they've got quite the discography.
I must admit, it was the thing, what dawned on me, one of the songs I had was like from 30 years ago. And then you don't realize that the 90s was like 3 decades ago. That's the shocking thing, more than anything else. Yeah, and all of a sudden, I mean, I'm older than everybody here, so it makes me feel old. But like, Well, I suppose with Ross, one of the songs might have been from when he was 9. Can you imagine a 9-year-old Ross?
I had the same hairline, same my biceps were the same girth as well.
Were they? Ross, whatever you do in the next couple of episodes, never ever say the word girth. Can you please just never ever say that in my company again?
Sure.
Go on then, Ross. You're number 8, please.
Number 8. Well, I've only got. Hang on a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I've got 2 number 5s and a 6 and a 7, but no 8. Okay, number 8 is number 8 is Porcelain by Moby, which came out in '99. It was only released as a single in 2000, but it was on Play, which came out in '99. So I'm counting it.
Okay, these are one of the songs. I mean, Maria, you a fan of this?
I had that same album. It was a really good album. Moby is I teach yoga, and which I just noticed that apparently I logged in under my work Zoom, but whatever. But I teach yoga, and so I classify him now as like that music that you could put in the background to teach a yoga class, or let it kind of sit in the background that you could either focus on or ignore, and it's just really nice ambiance.
Yeah. I've had this conversation with Neil before. Moby seems to be... Now, is Moby cool? Is Moby what you would class as a cool act? Or is he somebody that is sort of like now not thought of that? Or was he ever thought of being like a cool...
Well, I mean, his music was used in clubs and mixed with so many other pieces of music. So I think probably he was.
Yeah.
I don't know about now, but the album that came out afterwards, 18... had some really great tracks on it as well. Then there was a really ambient one called Hotel, which had 2 discs. One was vocal and one was just music, instrumental. That was great. And there's nothing I've bought of his I haven't really enjoyed.
Yeah, I don't think I know. I think I know a lot of his stuff, but I don't realise it's him, if that makes sense.
That would make sense because a lot of his stuff has been used. I don't know about in the UK, but in the US, a lot of his stuff has been used in marketing. So you'd see him in commercials and stuff.
Right.
Or in movie soundtracks.
Right. So I'd probably listen to a song and go, oh, that's the sausage song. Why I chose
exactly.
sausage. But you know what I mean? I mean, that would be the song on the sausage advert.
Which is funny because he's vegan.
Oh, well, there you go. Sorry, Moby, if you're listening to this. I can just imagine him there with his podcast provider listening, going, I hope I'm in the top 10 90s songs, and I mentioned sausage by him.
Well, he is. So
I'm sorry, Moby. I am really, really sorry. Okay, my number 8. I don't know whether any of you guys have got one of these people's songs in your top 10, but I haven't chosen the one that would normally go in. What a terrible way of saying that. It's The Drugs Don't Work by The Verve. Now, a lot of people would have Bittersweet Symphony. But for me, this is one of the most beautiful songs ever. And I think, well, I got Richard Ashcroft's first solo album, and there's some great, great songs on there as well, which remind me of this. But I preferred the more... I don't know why I don't like Bittersweet Symphony. I don't know why that specific song I don't like. But Lucky Man and Sonnet was another one from this album. But this is a beautiful song. I don't know if you guys are the Verve... fans, Maria?
I do like the Verve. I mean, for me, they were kind of one-hit wonder-ish, so I only know Bittersweet Symphony, but I enjoy it quite a bit.
I would recommend. I mean, this is a very emotional song, but Lucky Man and Sonnet, which are both really good songs as well from the album. Ross?
Yeah, no, I like them. Again, I think exactly the same there. The Bittersweet Symphony is the one I know, and then obviously this one that's playing now, I know it, but it wouldn't have come to mind if you'd have said The Verve to me straight away. It would have been the first one.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I do like them, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Maria, your number 7, please.
My number 7, speaking of screaming, is Nirvana, Breed. So much like yourself, you know, you were saying you're not sure why you don't care for Bittersweet Symphony and you prefer the other. I like Smells Like Teen Spirit. And fun fact, when I was a teenager, I did have that deodorant, Teen Spirit. But
I was hoping one of you would.
yeah, like I don't think I remember the smell, but yeah, Breed by Nirvana is my favorite. That just like that opening drum, that Dave Grohl just is one of my favorite people of all time. But that song just, I don't know. All the gestures I'm making don't work for audio, but that's just kind of like that feeling that you get. Oh, I fucking love that song.
I'll tell you what, it just shows my character in that I've never listened to like a Nirvana album. I don't know the amount of music that I'm probably missing out on that is probably life changing is crazy when I think of all the stuff that I haven't listened to.
Well, have you heard his cover from the Unplugged album of The Man Who Sold the World?
Only because somebody put that on as like one of their top 10 covers. Yeah,
I almost picked a cover from that album, from that unplugged session called "Where Did You Sleep Last Night," which is a cover of Leadbelly, which is an old Americana / country music singer from the late 1800s.
right.
It's so good. You have to listen to it. It'll just make you tingle.
Right.
Ding. But like it will. It's such a good
One of my
song.
favourite things to do is to tingle. So
Yeah. It's a lovely sensation.
yeah.
Well, if
Nice.
that kind of music is going to make me tingle, maybe I should listen to it at home and not listen to it at work, because I just can't afford another court case. I really can. So we'll go with that. Okay, we'll add that to the list. Ross, your number 7 then, please.
Road Rage by Catatonia.
Can you do it in the proper way? Because I can't roll my R's. Can you roll your R's, Ross?
No, I have to kind of go brr to get into the, but then I can't go from the having started with the brr to get into the r back to
Right.
what I wanted to actually pronounce. So no, I could easily answer.
Maria, can you roll your R's?
I can. What's this? It's road rage.
There you go. See, and I can't. How do you do it? I can't. The way I do it is I get like a ball of phlegm in my back throat, because I don't use my tongue at all. Ding. I get a ball of phlegm in the back of my throat. Ding.
I was going to add one.
I'm literally gargling when I'm doing it. Road rage. I can't. How do you do it, Maria? What?
That feeds right back into that whole teabagger conversation. So I speak Spanish. I actually, yeah, I'm a very, very light-skinned Mexican. So I grew up speaking Spanish. So that's kind of in my DNA as it is. I will tell you, I cannot say certain things in French, though. One of the ones that tripped me up was trying to say airport, because they say like ayehu. Like there's like that at the back of your throat. Speaking of, yeah,
I'll be good at that then.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the tip of the tongue, so I bring the tongue to right just to the back of your teeth and just
You can't. I don't think you can teach it.
Spat all over my computer. It went everywhere. Oh my god, that was half of my lunch now, I think. Oh,
So for the audio listeners, this is
a mess.
probably your lucky day not seeing this bit.
Yes. So go on then, Ross. Why this song?
It's just a song that was in 1998. I think it came out. It just reminds me of school, going home on a Friday. As you would go to the library with your parents and then home to do your maths homework, and you'd watch 999 Lifesavers with Michael Burke, obviously.
As everybody did.
And then
Everybody did.
Yeah,
that,
and there was Games Master and TFI Friday and Father Ted on later, and it's that whole just ball of, I don't know, Britpop and Chris Evans and Catatonia, Top of the Pops, and yeah, I just love the song. It's very nostalgic. A lot of mine are actually going up as well.
Yeah, Keris Matthews, wasn't it? Keris Matthews?
It was, yeah.
Good tune.
Yeah. She did a duet with Tom Jones, didn't she? Or no, or was that the Cardigans? Nina
No,
Simone.
she did. Yeah, she
Nina
did the
Pearson.
Christmas song. She did the Christmas song with Tom.
Burning
Jones.
Down the...
Oh, I don't know about that one. I'm thinking of
Burning
Baby
Down
It's
the
Cold
House?
Outside. She did Baby It's Cold Outside with Tom Jones.
I think she did "Burning Down the House." Maybe that was Nina Persson of the Cardigans with him.
Okay. I'll go.
But
I'll go with. I'll
there
go
we
with
are.
your
No.
with your knowledge on that one. Anyway, but that's the last time I'm going to try and roll my R's. That's for sure. I'll call on a professional like Maria to come and do it. Anyway, right. My number. What are we on? Number 7. My number 7. I love Prince, and I had to have a Prince song. So this is called "Gold" by Prince. God, that sounds like a proper radio thing. Then this is called "Gold" by Prince. And
Wrap up warm. It's cold.
Yes. And I love. I Prince is one of those people that you obviously he's another one that we've lost. But you sort of think, what would he be doing now? He'd just been carrying on making just amazing music. One of the bands, one of the people that I would love to have seen live. Never got a chance to see live. I don't think there's anybody else that's been as talented as that guy. All wrapped up in one tiny little 5'2" person. But this is a great song. Real good single. I mean, he made so much music that I don't think not all of it stuck as great, but even his mediocre stuff was better than a lot of people's great stuff. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh no, it does.
But I don't know. You guys, are you Prince fans, Maria?
I can appreciate him. I can't say that I'm specifically a fan, but he is an immense talent. And anything that I listen to of his or any performance I watch, I'm just amazed.
Yeah. Just he had everything.
Yeah,
Could play
I'm
everything.
not a massive fan, but I've got friends who are.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's right. Well, you don't apologise. It's your opinion, Ross. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. I'll quickly get rid of that one then, Ross.
So is it called Cold?
No,
Is
gold.
the song called Cold or is it Cold Chill?
Gold.
Oh, gold.
Yes.
I see.
All that glitters ain't gold. Okay.
Well, you're in the right decade. You could have gold in the 80s version of this as well, couldn't you? Spandau
You could have
Ballet.
done, yeah, but we're doing 90s, Ross, just to let you know.
Yeah. I'd have preferred the other, but yeah.
Oh, well, never mind. Go on then, Maria, your number 6, please.
Taking a departure from the screamy, just for a bit, is California Love by Dr. Dre and Tupac.
Okay. Okay.
It's a bit nostalgic for me. I mean, all of them are. It's a combination of whatever. But anytime I think of, so when I grew up in spending my time in Los Angeles, I lived in like South Central Los Angeles, like just like right in that area. And so I don't know, it just brings back all of those summers that I would spend in LA.
So what's it like growing up in LA then? Because
Well,
obviously from the UK, we get all our visions of what it's like to live in like Los Angeles from movies and TV shows. I'm imagining it's not 100% like that.
no. It depends on where you are and what your income level is. But where we lived, it was I don't know if you're familiar with like the LA riots in
Yeah.
92.
Yeah.
So where we lived, like that was kind of that epicenter for it.
Oh my
And so like
God.
when they talk about like Watts, particularly in Los Angeles, like in that area, a lot of like rap artists talk about that. We were like a couple blocks just outside of Watts, Los Angeles. And so it was all manner of like, you know, Section 8 housing, which is, I think, God, what is it called here? It's subsidized housing.
Right. Okay. So like
and-
council houses.
Yes, council houses. Yes.
Yeah.
And so not necessarily all that glamorous. It was a bit, you know, we'd have the police helicopters circling most days. But I never knew any different of Los Angeles. Like
Right.
if I thought of Hollywood or, you know, all of the like the fancier areas, that to me was not LA. I grew up
Oh.
in South Central. I grew up like, you know, in the grimy, I don't want to call it grimy, but like in the grittier areas, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that's
The
just always
less
how I knew it.
glamorous. The less glamorous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less glamorous, yeah.
So I'm
But I loved
assuming that places like Hollywood and that must feel like they're thousands of miles away, even though
Oh,
they're
God,
probably
yeah.
just a few.
Yeah. I mean, traffic notwithstanding, yeah, like it just felt like a complete other world compared to where we were. Because again, my dad drove, a lorry, he was a lorry driver. And so, I'd spent most of my time at loading docks waiting to go like pick up and get loaded and then get on the road.
Right.
And so that's all I really ever saw of LA.
There you go. Ross,
Yes.
where do you live?
I was gonna. Well, I didn't know if you were going for another song.
I was
Southampton.
wondering, I was wondering what you thought of Tupac and California Love more than anything else. We'll get onto your social security number and your and your tax bracket and that a little bit later on. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely
Okay,
fine. Thank you for that
excellent.
info. Yeah, it's not. I don't know. I don't know them. Sadly to say, I'm gonna probably have such. I'm gonna get the. Everyone's gonna have the impression of me having such a closed mind when it comes to music. I have a very eclectic music mix and taste, but so I know who Django Reinhardt is, who had two fingers as a guitarist because of he did the music for the what's the basketball team who do all the tricks, Harlem Globetrotters. So the music was done by him, 1920s. So I know stuff like that.
Hang on a minute. He had two fingers. I've never heard of this guy. What was his name? Sorry.
Django. I think it's Django Reinhardt, two-fingered jazz guitarist.
Two-fingered jazz guitar. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I know
like
stuff
you're
like
just making things up now.
I know stuff like that, and I know like ethereal music and stuff like that. And then you can say to me, tell me a song by Depeche Mode, and I would struggle to come up with something. Yeah, so yeah, I think I just focus it on probably lame bands that no one cares about, rather than bands that people actually know and are considered good.
I feel like we're swimming in the same pool.
I was gonna say, like, just because people know them doesn't mean they're good.
No,
that's true.
That's true.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's fair enough, but that's a good one. Okay, Ross, your number 6, please. I think, is it number 6? It is your number 6, yeah.
It is number 6. And just to reinforce that point, "She's the One" by Robbie Williams.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's a great song.
See what happened in the 90s when my sister was a massive Take That fan, and obviously everyone was crying in the street when they split up and stuff like that, and I was not sad at all. But I followed Robbie Williams afterwards, and yeah, that song was great. And it had the video that accompanied it was the ice skaters, and it had on the B side was "It's Only Us," which was the theme tune to the FIFA '99 game.
That's right.
In which Robbie Williams played for Port Vale, and I loved that song. I couldn't find it anywhere, so when I found that A and B CD, that was great, and then I could listen to that song, but also this was like, wow, I love that song as well, so that was good. But again, it was just a song that I used to listen to on the way to Tesco's when I used to work in my evening part-time job, and so yeah, just played it over and over. Probably sang it out loud a lot on the walk because no one would be around, so yeah, not the high bit, but most of the rest
and
of
it was a cover version as well.
Was it?
From,
I didn't know that.
Now I can't try to remember. Is it a band called World Party? Can you remember a band called World Party? Kurt Wallinger, I think, was the lead singer.
Yes, I did know that actually, but not Kurt Wallinger.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's who it is. Great song. I mean, I am a big Robbie fan, but he can be a bit hit and miss, I must admit.
Much better at that time of his career.
Yeah. His first few albums were with.
Well, it was Guy Chambers. He wrote everything, and
yeah,
and it told when he didn't have Guy anymore. It went downhill.
Did you ever hear the Heavy Entertainment Show album, which was his last, I think, proper full album from a few years ago? That was back with Guy Chambers.
Oh, I knew he'd got back. I haven't heard it.
It is
because he had a load of
great. Yeah. The I was gonna say Dirt Box. I didn't mean that at all. It's Rude Box is called.
Yeah.
Not
and he's got a couple of tracks on that same album. There's a couple of tracks on that same album, the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah,
where he talks about being a kid. He sort of obviously sings about being a kid and his mum telling him he's got into the band, and then the 90s when he's stealing and smoking and doing drugs and stuff. And it was really quite nice autobiographical songs. But yeah, the rest of the album and Rude Box was pretty dire.
Yeah, but there is some, like I say, I would recommend having a listen to that Heavy Entertainment show because there's some really, really good tunes on there. Okay, we're on 6, aren't we? Yeah, my number 6, another guy that's just not with us anymore, and you did hear a little bit of it on the clips. George Michael and Freedom 90. Now, I could have chosen so many different George Michael songs, Fast Love, As, things like that from the 90s. This one just crept in because it was 1990, this one. But it's such a good tune. It's got a nice groove to it. It's got a good story to it because it's all about him with Wham and then breaking up and then getting a new face for MTV. And again, I don't think you'll have anybody that'll have a voice like George Michael again. He's just one of those guys that had so much talent and unfortunately not with us anymore. Maria, fan?
I like him, but I can't say specifically that I'm a fan. I wouldn't seek him out to listen to, but when he's on, I'm not angry.
Yeah. That's fair enough. So did you ever listen to Wham stuff, or was that a bit too early for you?
Only in the terms of Whamageddon.
Oh, right. Okay.
Trying to avoid the song, but so it was a little
Wham,
early.
Yeah, the only way you get to Wham is if you're trying to not listen to one of their songs.
I mean, pretty much, because then they were just playing everywhere.
That's cool. I mean, Ross, I suppose again you're a bit too young for Wham.
No, I love the older album. Wham! You're talking about, not George Michael.
Yeah, but I like
Wham.
Yeah.
I like Wham, but I did hear. I know quite a lot of Wham songs, and Mum used to play it when I was younger. But I actually knew when George Michael was found. What was it? Boxing Day or the day after, wasn't it? That year he died. I actually knew he died 2 days earlier.
Ross, are you confessing something?
Day earlier.
This is being recorded.
My friend
Ross.
was working. My friend was working for the ambulance service at the time, and he messaged me to say that they found a body, and it was it's going to be big news. And then it was the day before, so it was like 9-10 hours later that it then came out into the news. So I was like sitting on this news, and at Christmas time as well. So yeah, it was quite a funny time.
Oh, it's hilarious. I mean,
it's family, yeah.
But that was when we had that whole spate of. Wasn't that the same year that like Bowie died at the start of the year? And
yes, it was. Yeah,
Carrie Fisher died, and then Debbie Reynolds, her mum, died the following day, and it was just like every celebrity was shitting themselves, wondering what the hell's going on. Yeah, and then I think George Michael was Christmas Day. I think
something like that.
It was Christmas Day. 2016.
Yeah, I think the news came out. I think the news came out on like late Christmas Day, or something, and I knew Christmas Eve that there'd been a call out.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, Freedom 90. What a great song.
I like George Michael.
Excellent. Go on then, Maria. You're number 5, please.
All right, getting back into the yelling and the screaming. Rage Against the Machine, Revolver. So this is off of their second album, Evil Empire. And there are so many other popular songs on that album, but I don't know what it was specifically about that song. I think it was part of the chorus, which is, "Hey Revolver, don't mothers make good fathers," which is basically a commentary, like when you think about it, on gun violence and the songs about domestic violence and stuff like that. Rage Against the Machine doesn't exactly do happy songs, but it was just such a good song. And Zach De La Rocha, speaking of rolling your R's, Zach De La Rocha's, his way of his delivery is just, I don't know. I just love it. I love Rage. They're probably one of my all-time favorite bands.
Are they? Yeah. I don't know about you, Ross, but I only know one of their songs, which is obviously the big one that was number 1 at Christmas here that one year. Yeah, which was Killing in the Name of. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because every year X Factor was getting number 1, so Rage released that to try and get everybody so that it wasn't an X Factor number 1 for Christmas, and it won. It was Christmas number 1 that particular year.
How appropriate.
Exactly. It is totally appropriate.
Right.
Ross, are you a Rage fan?
Nah, same with you.
Yeah.
I'm in your shoes there.
Yeah,
I'm
I
so
don't know what
sorry.
I don't know. Yeah, the thing is, you do feel apologetic, don't you? You feel like you should
No.
say sorry because there's so
I
many
know, for
people I
not knowing
know that are
stuff.
massive fans of Rage
This was
Against the
a
Machine.
If this was a top 10, favourite colours, I'd be able to talk for ages. But and I'd have an opinion on turquoise or whatever. So.
I mean, the thing is, oh, go on, Maria.
Oh, I mean, that's totally fair. Music is so subjective, and
That's what I was going to say.
we all place our certain emotions or attachments on them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like something about being slightly outside of the norm that I like quite a bit when it comes to music. Like, I want someone who doesn't have a great classic, a classically good voice, or I want the sound to be a little bit off. I don't know. Apparently, I like slightly wonky and broken things. So I don't know. It's weird.
I think the thing as well is you listen to CDs and stuff like that. So I buy CDs, and if you know loads of different bands and artists and stuff, it's generally because you hear radio music a lot as well as buying CDs. But I kind of got this. I had this phase where I just couldn't be bothered with listening to the radio anymore because I just got bored of music, of like new music, and I just kept listening to the Beatles and songs that I like and albums I had. So probably just stunted my musical vocabulary, I think.
Yeah. I'm a lazy listener as well. I find it very hard to, unless an album, a brand new album or an album that, which was the one that I listened to? I gave Radiohead a go, OK Computer, because for me, they're the most overrated band ever, is Radiohead. And Neil said to me, listen to this one. So I spent an afternoon of listening to Radiohead songs at work. And it just didn't penetrate. I couldn't, you know what I mean? There was just nothing about it, and I thought I'm not getting anything out of it. There's no hook to it. And then I think the following day I listened to a Taylor Swift album, and I thought this is really good stuff. That doesn't make any sense. I never thought it'd be a Swiftie. I really didn't. But
that's how I feel about Harry Styles. So I actively avoid it because I'm not a boy band listener. Speaking of not getting stuck into weird things, when everybody was listening to boy bands, when they were so popular in like the 90s and the early 2000s, I was listening to the Monkees. Like that is still one of my favorite groups of all times.
Yeah.
I don't care if they were manufactured. But so I actively avoided like One Direction. I've still never heard one of their songs, but I love Harry Styles.
Right. But the thing is, a good song is a good song is a good song for me.
Yep.
It doesn't matter who does it and what kind of genre it is. But the trouble is, and I've said this before on these music top tens that we do, there's probably a song out there that if I listen to it, that would be the greatest song I've ever heard. But I've never heard it because I won't open myself up to listening to all these different songs and different albums. But go on then, Ross.
I thought you were going to. Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say a good song is a good song forever.
Oh, right.
So The Office, but not.
I could have said that. It would have been a lot better. Go number 5, please, Ross.
Park Life by Blur. It was obviously again school time. It was the battle of Oasis and Blur. It has Phil Daniels in it as the guy who does the talking bit, who was then in EastEnders and played Grandad Trotter in Rock and Chips later as well. I just think it's a fun song, and I think you're either in one camp or the other at school. And I don't think I was in either camp really. I kind of like both, but I did want Blur to win because I think there was an arrogance of Oasis that they thought they were going to come out on top. So I kind of liked the underdog and went for Blur.
You were a Blur boy, were you?
Oh, for that particular battle, yeah.
Were you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Maria, are you a Blur fan?
I love Blur so much. They're again talking about like music that I've come to on my own. They were one of those bands that I came to on my own, and I still to this day listen to them.
They seem to me to be one of the quintessential sort of English bands. He doesn't sing with any kind of accent. Well, a forced accent. It's just
Hmm.
his own accent, and I think it makes them very British. I mean, I was sold that whole Oasis versus Blur thing, and I was definitely on the Oasis side. Although I loved some of Blur's stuff was fantastic. I think I bought all their albums as well as all of Oasis albums, but some great
Yeah.
stuff. It was all a
Tender
manufactured.
was great.
I mean, we find out now that there wasn't, between the two bands, there wasn't any animosity. It was just all done by record companies, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do. Made everybody buy more records because, like you said, Ross, you wanted a certain band to beat the other band, so you go out and buy the stuff. It's just
There was a Netflix show
Yes.
called, I think it's called This Is Pop, and it was a little docu-series, and one of the episodes specifically centered on the Britpop of the
right.
90s,
Yeah.
and it talked about like the rivalry between Oasis and Blur.
Mm.
Pretty
I
cool.
can remember it at the time, like you say, with TFI Friday, which was a Friday night sort of,
Yeah.
what do you call it, entertainment show, and it was all about Oasis and Blur would play, and
Yeah.
simpler times.
Damon Albarn's also got Icelandic citizenship, which ticks my box because massive fan of Iceland, and yeah, so he's got citizenship. He's got a house in Reykjavik there.
A massive fan of
Quite good friends.
Iceland. I mean, Ross, come on. That's the most Ross thing I've ever heard you say. I'm a massive fan of Iceland. Why are you a massive fan of Iceland, Ross?
It's just incredible.
Oh,
If
right.
you've never been to Iceland, I've been twice. 2008, last April I went. It's just every time. Well, both times I've been there, it's the only country I've said I want to live here, and then made effort to try and find out how I could live there.
Oh,
Lots
right.
of holidays I go and say, oh, I'd love to live here, Florida, Paris, whatever. But Iceland's the only one I've actually looked for jobs to see if I could do some working in Iceland, some working in the UK, and going back and forth. But yeah, it's incredible, lovely place.
There you go. See?
So
You
yeah.
learn something new about a person that you think you know everything about. It's crazy. Okay, so my number 5, carrying on the Oasis versus Blur. Many people that know me probably think this should be higher, but I'm going to go for the classic Wonderwall at number 5. I don't think there's much more that can be said about this song that hasn't already been said. The one thing I loved about Oasis singles, especially CD singles from the 90s, is they were like mini albums. That the CD tracks, there'd be maybe 4 or 5 CD tracks on each album, on each single, and every single song would be a brand new song that Noel Gallagher would have written, and they were fantastic. This CD single, I'll talk a little bit about another song a little bit later on. It had 4 songs on it, and every single song would have been a hit, at least a top 10 hit, because they were such good, but they were just CD tracks. Weren't on the albums. They were just part of the Round Our Way, I think, was one. I can't remember the other ones, apart from another one, which I'll mention a little bit later on. Classic tune. Right, so, I mean, we're saying Blur Oasis, Ross, but did you like Oasis as well? You just preferred Blur
Oh
more?
yeah. I mean, I think Oasis are my favourite of the two now. Having, I've been to see them play at the City of Manchester Stadium, and I grew to like the arrogance of Liam Gallagher and Noel as well. And actually, I can't say about it, just in case I ruin it for people. But there's a little link between Peter Kay and Noel Gallagher, which I saw at the weekend. But yeah, I love Oasis now, and I still like Blur. There's nothing, you don't stop liking music, really, do you? You keep,
No.
if you like something, you like it and stay liking it. Generally with music, but yeah, Oasis are fab. I'm surprised you didn't play the Mike Flowers version though with Wonderwall.
No,
You
that
didn't
was
specify
in
which
my
one.
top 10 cover versions. I had that in my top 10 cover versions. It's a
Did you?
great song. Yeah. Especially when they tried to sell it that this was the original version.
Exactly,
And Noel
yeah.
Gallagher had copied it off of them. Yeah. Fantastic. Go on then, Maria. Oasis fan?
Yeah, actually, I do. I like them. I like them a lot. And I really, I thought long and hard about, whether I should include them. I know, I suppose that's giving me giving me away that I didn't, but they, there was a good handful of songs that I was like, oh, this is a good one. I like them a lot. I
Yeah.
like probably a lot of Americans that you've probably spoken to. There is I was probably a bit of an Anglophile, I guess we like what's not directly in front of us at all times. And so you hear an accent and you kind of perk up. But I still like them a lot. And
Yeah.
when I started learning to play guitar, that was kind of the running joke. Like, are you going to learn to play Wonderwall? So I've actually avoided learning to play Wonderwall for now. But it's always like, so anyway, here's Wonderwall.
That's the thing. Well, the thing is, like, the one thing I love about Noel Gallagher is that he uses a lot of simple chords that people with stubby fingers trying to play guitar can play, because it's normally E minor, A minor, C, D, G, and then you can pretty much play any Oasis, well, not any Oasis song, but most Oasis songs. Yeah, it's just a fantastic song, and I'll come to that when I talk a little bit later on as well. I don't want the spoilers. Go on then, Maria, your number 4, please.
Keeping up with the Blur v Oasis, I have Girls and Boys by Blur.
Wow, this is becoming... We should have just done the top 10 Oasis stroke Blur songs. Surely I didn't realise that. Okay.
It's just such a fun song. I don't really have much else other than I love Damon Albarn's voice, and it's just so fun.
I mean, they went through an amazing array of, like, Country House was another great song. There's No Other Way. Tender was another. I mean, they got so many great tunes. I mean, obviously we know your feelings. I mean, I love the disco-y-ness of this song as well.
Yeah.
Have you shaked your snake hips to this one, Ross?
Yeah, quite a lot actually. Pablo made a joke about me having snake-like hips, Maria, because of my svelte body, I think. Very sinewy legs, like Willow.
Svelte
but yeah,
body, I love it. I think that's on your Tinder profile, isn't it?
Yeah, svelte body, Willow-like legs. Yeah.
Oh lordy,
Own teeth, no hair.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I probably danced to this in my room by myself quite a lot, I should think.
What, a bit like Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs? Do you have it like tucked in as you're doing all that?
Yeah.
There's so many visions going through my head now. Oh God. I never thought I'd have that vision in my head after tonight. Okay, Ross, your number 4, please. Which Oasis or Blur song is it?
It's neither. It's Driftwood by Travis.
Oh, great tune.
99. I mean, obviously, that whole album is fabulous. And Why Does It Always Rain on Me, which I think is track 7, was a contender. Track 1, I can't remember what that was. But that was great. But Driftwood, I think track 4 is great. I just love it. I sing it again. Another one I used to sing on the way to work and sing on the way home from work, unless I was chased by anyone.
Police usually.
But what police?
The police usually, yeah. There goes Buffalo Bill. There he is. Quick, let's grab him.
He's getting away on its sinewy legs.
Yes. Untuck yourself, man.
It was more local Utes who would try and get me on either side of the bridge. So they'd a group of them would stand at one end of the bridge, and then the others would run over to try and get me over the other side of the dual carriageway. So I had to try and cross the dual. I had to try and cross the dual carriageway before they could run over the bridge for safety.
Jesus.
So you're running, going, "Here's Driftwood." Da, 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 da.
Yeah, exactly. So then I bought a car, and then I could just listen to this and relative safety. So.
Driving past and going, "Fuck you!"
Yeah, and then they slashed my tyres, obviously. But
obviously. Well, then bless them. Goodness me, yeah. What album's this from? Which was? Is it The Man Who?
Yeah,
is that the album. Great.
That's from The Man Who. Yeah, and then they did. The next one was great as well. They did 12 Memories. which I liked. That was probably my favourite album. They had an album before this, so there's a lot of bands. I think you mentioned who's your second? Who's your number 10? Was it Crazy or number 9? You had Crazy, didn't you? And
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
talking about bands that have been around a lot longer than you realise. And Travis had an album beforehand, which actually was a really good album. Snow Patrol, there was that album of Snow Patrols that came out late 90s, and then Chocolate and Run and things like that on it. But they had 2 or 3 albums beforehand. And then I got into Modest Mouse in like 2000 something, and then I found out they had like loads of albums beforehand as well. So it's funny when you find out that the big hit album is only what you've heard, but actually there's a whole history before.
It's quite nice with that. I mean, I'm going back way back, but I can remember when I first started getting into Billy Joel, and that was with the Innocent Man album. That was 1983 or whatever it was. And you didn't realise that there was like 10 years of albums before that. So you can go back and listen to all this stuff that you thought, oh, well, I thought that was his hit in the UK, but he's got this whole career before that. So it's like opening up a brand new present.
My daughter's 9 and she's got into Dolly Parton. I daren't tell her that there's about 5 million albums that she's got to listen to beforehand.
How did she get into Dolly Parton?
I don't know.
Is it one specific song or?
No, she loves all of them. She loves Life is Like a Butterfly. Obviously Jolene she likes, but she just listens to it on Spotify or YouTube. So she's listening to that. She's watching Frasier with me.
Oh my God!
She's watched the whole of Frasier, all 11 series of that. So
I love that show.
It's good. It's fantastic.
And
I often quote. There's a scene where Niles gets his coffee and he comes and sits down and he's like, I specifically asked for a whisper of cinnamon and they've given me a full-throated shout. And like, it's just like, I think of that every time I order coffee from somewhere.
Very good.
It's so brilliant.
Right, my number 4. We're going back to one that Ross actually had of Robbie, but it's Angels. My family wouldn't. They would disown me if I didn't have this one in here. So this is one that I've sung a million times, and I think because I've sung it so many times, it's almost become like you take this song for granted. Because I've heard it like just so many times, it's always in my head. But it is a great song. Now it's one of those things that I don't know, American-wise, whether Maria, whether it's a song that has travelled over to America.
I don't remember if this one did. I know that there was like 1 or 2, but I don't think this was one of them.
No,
probably Dirtbox.
Dirtbox, yeah. I'm sorry, Robbie. I didn't mean to call it. It was called Rude Box. But he did try, because he tried to break America, didn't he? Once he'd left, that. And he lived in LA for a while, didn't he? But I don't think that was more.
He hosted a UFO show, didn't he?
UFO show.
Yeah, he was like a UFO finder.
Oh, really?
Was he?
Yeah. He kind of. Before he came back with a load of albums, he did TV shows about UFOs and working with some guy trying to track them, and been a bit odd.
That's right, I can remember that. Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, I had to have that on my top 10. Really, it was.
My friend was in rehab for addictions, and Robbie Williams was in there at the same time and performed Angels apparently to the group in rehab before it was released.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, like a exclusive.
Wow. And what did they all think? Did they say hit? I mean, I didn't mean it as. Not
in a drug rehab.
That's not in a drug rehab. Give us a hit, Robbie. And he goes, okay, I'll sing this for you. No, we didn't mean that, Robbie. Yeah. Okay, Maria, your number 3, please.
Oh, my number 3. Okay, so I struggled with this one because it came out in 1999, but I always think of it more as a 2000s on song.
Right.
But I really love this band, so I had to include them. And the song is called Never Die by Tiger Army. And so I think I've mentioned them probably before, but they're in a genre called psychobilly. And so it's kind of a melding between punk rock and country music, or rockabilly. And his voice is just amazing. It's so soft, but he can get really gritty with his voice, and his guitar playing is just phenomenal. And this song particularly highlights the ability to just have that fast driving punk rock like power chord riff and then go into finger picking and kind of transition between the two. And I actually have his signature Gretsch electromatic jet. He had one that he produced, and it sounds so good, even in my feeble hands. But he's amazing, and that whole band, they're so fun.
I mean, I've never heard of them before.
No, I wrote it down so I can have a listen to it after.
Well, and remember, anyone on our Patreon, we've got the video playlist that you'll be able to listen and watch all of these amazing artists. So, is that a guy on his own, or is it a band?
They're a trio, and so
right.
he's primarily the head guy, and then he kind of cycled out the bass and the drummer. So the bass player plays the upright bass,
Right.
And so I don't think that those two have always been the same, but he's always been the mainstay, of course, because he's the one. He writes all the songs. He produces all of it, and so Nick 13 is his kind of frontman name, but
Yeah.
he also has a solo Americana album that is just phenomenal. It's so good. But yeah, they're easily one of my favorite bands.
I mean, intriguing. I was going to say, Ross, are you a fan of Tiger Army? But I'm pretty sure
I mean,
like
I'm
me.
more familiar with Tiger Balm, but
Fair enough.
Same.
Okay.
yeah.
Go on then, Ross, for number 3, please.
Number 3 is My Favourite Game by the Cardigans.
You love the Cardigans, don't you?
I do love the Cardigans, yeah.
Yeah.
Nina Pearson. Well, I love any Scandi band, so I think bands from Norway, Sweden always tick my box. It's just a good feel-good song. When I got my car, and yeah, you start the engine to that, wind the window down because it's a Nissan Micra D-Reg, and then you just kind of leave your foot on the gas while you hold the brake down, and then you let go, and this pumps out. You feel like you're really cool as Moby, probably.
Probably. I've got the movie scene in my head now. That you close the door, you turn the key, wind the window down.
I've got one of those pull-out clutches as well.
Yeah, fine. And you're scooting down the road with this blaring, and then just like gangs of kids chasing you because they want to get at you. So I can just see it. I can storyboard it for you if you want.
Memories.
Yes. Good tune, though.
And I think it was also, I'm sure it was like an advert for the next episode of Friends or something like that. Every time you had, if you watched the Paramount Comedy Channel, there would always be like a particular song that would be played with clips of different programs, and it would be the same. It would be played constantly through the day. So it would show a clip from Just Shoot Me and a clip from Ellen and something else. And so that song, I think, was always used in an advert kind of setting as well. But yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
Okay, a fan, Maria?
I like them. They're one of those bands for me that are encapsulated in the 90s, and I don't necessarily take them with me past that. But in that time, I remember really heavily listening to them, and was it that and Love Fool, I believe, was also
Fool.
them.
Love Fool,
And,
yeah. Erase and Rewind and all as well.
Yeah, they're very talented. They're a great band. Yeah, I listen to them a lot.
Okay, yeah, they're all right.
They did a cover with they did a song with Tom Jones called "Burning Down the House."
They were the ones that did the song. Did you check that?
Yeah.
Did you double check that? Did you? You sourced that?
I knew it. I didn't have to double check.
I think Keris Matthews did the Christmas one. I'm pretty sure she did the Christmas one.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. My number 3. So this is a song that I had to put in because of the missus, because of the wife. I've danced with my wife to this song in an empty cinema screening because it's also the movie. If you listen to our Kevin Costner podcast, which was a couple of weeks ago, and it was number 1 for 85 weeks, I think. It's Everything I Do for You. Bryan Adams from the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves soundtrack. It's one of those songs. I mean, it's not a great song, but it's one of the songs that actually has so many memories for me. It's mine and my wife's song. It's from one of my favourite movies. And like I say, we went and saw Robin Hood. Everybody left. And at the end of the movie, this song plays it to its entirety. So me and my missus had a little smooch when there was no one else about, and somebody was sweeping up popcorn around.
I was just going to say, did someone come with a Hoover, break the moment?
So it's one of those things. It's just one of those memories that from, I can't remember what year it was that movie came out. 94. I must have been when we first started.
Yeah, I was going to say 94.
Yeah, we were first married, but yeah, it's always had that memory in there for me. So I had to have it in there, really. Otherwise,
and do you do that every so often? Go back to the cinema to dance?
Not at today's prices. You must be joking.
You can go to View. Go to View, and it's $4.99 for any adult.
Is it really?
Anytime. Yeah, standard seat.
Maybe if they bring back Robin Hood again, I might do that. But yeah. Okay, then Maria, your number 2, then please.
My number 2 is I have 2 tattoos of them on my body. I remember exactly where I was when I first heard this song, and that is Basket Case by Green Day.
Okay.
They are, I don't know. They have just been a band that I have always loved from the moment I heard Basket Case. Like, you know, and I mean, I was 10 years old and that song came out and I was like, what is this? And it's just made an imprint. I love it. Billy Joe is just so, again, talking about imperfection. I had the biggest crush on Billy Joe Armstrong, particularly when his teeth were all fucked up.
Right.
And now he's rich and he can afford to have, you know, them fixed. And so he's not as cute to me anymore. But he was just so scruffy and like and so like scraggly and just a little dirty. And I don't know. I love them because they didn't take themselves super seriously. And they just sang about, you know, feeling crazy or masturbating so much that they go blind, or, you know,
who said that?
Others.
Who said that?
Oh, I get what you did there, Pavo.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ross.
But they're just, Green Day is just one of those tried and trues for me. I will never not love them.
I had no idea that bad teeth could be hot. So
it's true. It is absolutely true. Can you spell something out when you take a bite of a piece of bread? I'm in.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
I can do that. I can't roll my R's.
No.
Damn it. Well,
No.
Sorry.
They're one of those bands that just seem to have always been there.
Mm-hmm.
And there doesn't ever seem to be a time before Green Day. That's the thing. It's weird. But it's only, I mean, is it the night? Were they in the 80s as well? Late 80s, maybe?
They may have been. They had possibly, because they very late 80s. It would have to be
89.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because they had I think like one other. Yeah, Sweet Children was the name of the name of the band before they switched over to Green Day, and I think they had one album before Dookie came out, which was their big like commercial success.
Right. Nice. That's a good one. Ross, you a Green Day fan?
I preferred Sweet Children. I did like it when they got all commercial and he fixed his teeth and that's my take.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, if that aligns to anything you've said then Maria, sorry, have I been
Maria.
your name all the time?
Yeah.
Maria, sorry, that's right, good.
I've been called worse.
We've only been talking for an hour and 20 minutes, Ross. I mean, it's not.
No, I mean, I've been saying Maria, I think, and I did say that just then. So I thought, oh no, we're going. Yeah. So if what I just said aligns with anything you've just said, then that's just coincidence. Those are my own views, and I stand by those views.
All right then.
Go on, then, Ross. Your number 2, please.
Oh, number 2 is "Never Ever" by All Saints. From their album by the same name in '97. So I bought this on cassette, another one on cassette, and I actually bought 2 copies on cassette because I dropped one into the river when I was fishing, and I had to dry it out on the radiator, and I gave it to a girl, and she said thank you, and then didn't speak to me much after that either. So it didn't kind of work, and I used to listen to it over and over when I used to have a job delivering leaflets. And I think it's probably the only album that I know every word of every song on, including like a rap song in one of the songs. And many of the time I'd stand on my balcony and sing it to the local kids, doing all the rap actions. So yeah, no, I just love that song. It's the title track. It's just the one that takes me back straight away.
Yeah, it's a good tune. It is a good tune. I mean, I don't know whether they ever made it in America, did they?
I really don't believe so.
No. And one of them.
And they had the old Spice Girls battle as well, didn't they?
They did. And one of them was married to Liam Gallagher to carry
That's
on
right,
the
yeah.
Oasis.
Was it Natalie Appleton?
It was Natalie or Nicola.
One of the Appletons.
One of the Appletons. There you go. Good tune. Well done, Ross, for that one. No, well done. It was a really good tune. No, it is a good tune. I mean, I didn't mean to pull that face. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, you didn't. No.
I didn't pull it. I didn't mean to. I was just trying to. Okay, but it's a really good tune. It doesn't matter how I say it now. It's going to sound like I'm taking the piss. I don't mean to. Okay, right. My number two and my number one are both my funeral songs. Just so that I'm putting it out now as a point of fact. So if my wife ever listens to this, she won't listen to it. It's there as point of fact that these are two. So this one is my number two, but it's by a band called U2, and it's one. Just to confuse it even more. I can't hear this song without tearing up because it is just one of the most beautiful songs I think ever written, and it's so simple to play as well. It's all your simple, easy chords as well. It's your E minors and your C's and your D's and your G's. Oh, but
I know what I'm gonna go learn now.
Yeah, this is one of those songs. This is one of those songs that I've said to my wife when I first heard it. I said I want this to be played at my funeral. I would love to be able to have my funeral before I die, just so I could see who turned up. Is one thing. What kind things everyone says, how much collection money you get, that kind of stuff. Yeah, just to know how people feel about you. But
how much effort have they made in their dress?
Exactly. I want to see where the Ross comes with it all tucked inside while he's coming down. Coming down the aisle. Do you go down the aisle of a funeral? I don't think you do you? But yeah,
it's your funeral. You do what you want to do.
I don't think I will. But it's a beautiful song from Actum Baby, and there's not much more I can say about it. It's just a beautiful song. So I'm going to have that as my number two. Okay, before we reveal our number ones, Maria, would you like to give us a countdown of your number 10 to number 2? Ross will do the same, I'll do the same, and then we'll reveal our number ones.
All right. So my 10 through 2, number 10, Johnny Cash, I've Been Everywhere. Number 9, Garbage, Stupid Girl. Number 8, American Jesus by Bad Religion. Number 7, Nirvana, Breed. And number 6, California Love by Dr. Dre and Tupac. Number 5, Rage Against the Machine, Revolver. Number 4, Girls and Boys from Blur. Number 3, Tiger Army, Never Die, which is also their catchphrase, Tiger Army, Never Die. And number 2, Green Day, Basket Case.
Wonderful. Ross, your 10 to 2, please.
Okay, I've got Meatloaf, I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that. Oh, what a comparative. Zombie by the Cranberries. Number 8, I've got Porcelain by Moby. Number 7 is Road Rage by Catatonia. Number 6 is She's the One by Robbie Williams. 5 is Park Life by Blur. Travis with Driftwood in at number 4. Number 3 is My Favourite Game by the Cardigans. And number 2 is Never Ever by All Saints.
Wonderful. And mine is number 10, Crazy by Aerosmith. 9, Keep the Faith, Bon Jovi. 8, The Drugs Don't Work, The Verve. 7, Gold by Prince. 6, Freedom 90 by George Michael. 5, Wonderwall, Oasis. 4, Angels, Robbie Williams. 3, Everything I Do It For You, Bryan Adams. And number 2, One by U2. So, Maria, what is your number? I know, can't get more complicated than that. Maria, what is your number 1 90s song?
My number one 90s song is from a band who I have seen live like at least 6 or 7 times now.
Wow.
I've kind of lost count. Um, and that would be Monkey Wrench by the Foo Fighters.
Okay.
And I did go to the Wembley tribute as well.
You did?
I did.
How
We
was that?
arrived. I cried like a bitch. But everybody in the stadium was also crying. I made friends with the people directly next to me who got increasingly more and more drunk as the night went on, as you are wont to do. But yeah, it was very emotional and it was so fun. And Liam Gallagher was there, Supergrass were there, and they were phenomenal. It was really cool. But yeah, I love the Foo Fighters. I just like, speaking of bands that you have tattoos of, I have their first album tattooed on my forearm.
Nice.
Dave Grohl's just one of those guys you want to, I don't have a crush on him. I want to hang out with him and drink Crown and Coke. That's what I want to do.
Have you ever watched the Hot Wings
Yes.
show on YouTube? The one with Dave Grohl?
Yes. Let's do another shot.
Yeah. He's just, I mean, I'm not, okay, for total transparency, I don't know a lot of Foo Fighters songs. There's another one like Nirvana. I think quite apt, it's like Nirvana.
Yeah.
If I listened to them, I probably would really enjoy them. But I think I'm like you just want to go out for a beer with Dave Grohl and just hang out with him. He just seems to be just like a really, really good dude that just like loves doing what he does.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
really shows just the way that he talks about it. I've read his autobiography. I actually was able to get tickets to see him speak about his book. So I got to see him play the drums to Smells Like Teen Spirit on stage.
I've seen the video of that, yeah.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But he's just so full of like life and wonder, and just, he loves what he does, and it really shows.
Yeah, that's great. Ross, are you a fan of the Foo Fighters?
Yeah, I do like them. Not as much as my friends. That I go to pubs, very grungy pubs, and my friends are really massive fans. But while they're raving about that, I'm talking about Robbie Williams and Moby. I've got a tattoo of. I've actually got one tattoo, and it's Moby. So I don't know if you can see that.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, no, thank you. It took a long time.
I mean, that is great, because I love the way the tattooist has made it look like pen. That is amazing. No,
Yeah.
I mean that's top quality
Skill, isn't it?
tattooing.
It's the skill. Yeah.
That is great. Did that hurt?
Yeah, it was quite painful.
Yeah.
But we listened to Porcelain in the back, so I kind of dropped off.
Fair enough. Okay, I can let that one go. So wonderful. Monkey Wrench by the Foo Fighters is Maria's number one 90s song. So Ross, which Robson and Jerome song have you chosen?
It might be. It could be Jimmy Nail and Crocodile Shoes or something. You
It
don't
could
know.
be Jimmy
I
Nail.
don't- it is Disco 2000 by Pulp.
Oh, way up, Ross. You're on the way out. But I take it that's by Pulp, yeah? That's Disco 2000 by
Disco
Pulp.
2000 by Pulp. That's right. Yeah.
And why?
It's just great, dancey, energetic, the whole vibe of Britpop, and I just like Jarvis Cocker. It's that time of, well, it was a bit earlier, but when he did that little upstage with Michael Jackson at the Brit Awards, that like encapsulates just the whole of Britpop, I think, for me.
Yeah.
I just love it.
I will put that. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. I will put that on the video playlist for people to see, because that was something of its time. That was Michael Jackson was doing Earth Song, I think it was. Wasn't it?
That's
Earth
right.
Song?
Yeah, song.
On stage, and
He did
Jarvis
just
Cocker got on stage and started waving his backside at him and stuff, and then I think he got thrown off the stage, didn't he? I think.
Well, he did. They started to come over to him, and then he sort of ran along a bit, didn't he? And it did it a bit as well. But it was the childishness of the kind of hand waving
That's
back
right.
as well. It wasn't even just the arse. It was just It was that. It was so funny.
Oh dear. Again, was Pulp something that crossed over to the US?
I don't believe so. However, I do know who they are, and I like them quite a lot. Common People, is a really great song. My personal
Yeah,
favorite, I think
tough choice.
it might have been a B-side, but it was Death Comes to Town.
All right. Okay.
That's such a good pulp song. And full transparency, the only reason that I'm familiar with them is I read a lot of fan fiction, and one of the people who wrote a particular piece of fanfic had centered it around that song, and they mentioned that that's what they used, and so I then went and did my own deep dive.
Oh, right. Okay. So just explain to me
That's
exactly what fan fiction is. 'Cause isn't that how
It's
Twilight started? Wasn't Twilight
No, that's how 50 Shades of Grey started.
50 Shades of
Yeah,
Grey?
that was
That's
fan
right.
fiction from Twilight. So I mean, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be necessarily sexual in nature, but it is a person taking characters from a beloved um for in my case comic strip that I really
Right.
enjoy reading, and they just reimagine them in various other situations, and there's some really well written pieces of fan fiction, and then there's some absolute shit ones.
Yeah.
But this, yeah, it's I got sucked in, and i'm I accept it. I accept any scorn given for that.
So do you? Because something like 50 Shades of Grey, it doesn't say that it's a Twilight fan fiction, does it?
No, I think it ended up turning into its own thing. People
Oh,
liked it
right.
so much that it just became like its own standalone
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I've never read it. I just want to go on record as saying
Right.
I've never read 50 Shades of Grey. But I am familiar with like its source.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've acted out the stage version of 50 Shades of Grey. I've not read it.
On your own
to an
in your
audience?
bedroom is what you're talking about, Ross, isn't
Off the balcony again.
it? That's why all those people are chasing you. We want a sequel. They're going, we want a sequel. Okay, my number one is my other song from my funeral. It's going to be a hoot, my funeral, with one there, and also, but this is a song that was on the Wonderwall CD single. This isn't it wasn't even an album track. It wasn't a single, but for me, it's the greatest Oasis song ever written, and it's called "The Master Plan."
Yes, I love that.
It's just got absolutely everything. There is a great version when Oasis did Unplugged, and Liam apparently had a bad throat, but he's up in the gods of wherever they was doing it, and Noel had to do all the vocals, and he knocked it out of the park. It's just a fantastic tune. And this is the other song that's going to be on my... I don't know how many songs you're allowed to have in a funeral. I don't know. But there's two of them.
I think you can have as many as you want.
Can you? Good.
Yeah.
I might have a couple more then. I might have a Robson and Jerome one. You never know. I might have it stipulated in my will that I have whatever it was. Was it Porcelain? Was the song that you were going to have? And I have Ross come down the aisle with it all tucked in to Porcelain. That by Moby. Would you mind if I have that in my will, Ross? Would you do that for me?
Sure, no, go ahead. Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
all right.
Thank you. We have a witness in Maria as well. So.
I will sign any affidavit I need to sign.
Thank you. I will fax it over to you immediately, Maria.
Wonderful.
So there you go. That's my number one. Let's go through some of the honourable mentions we had. Heidi Grande said, "Damn, this is difficult. In the 90s, not only did I love me some Rage Against the Machine, Radiohead, Garbage and Nirvana, I also love me some Lauryn Hill, Alea, Biggie Smalls and Dr. Dre, and that's just the tip, ding, 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 of the musical iceberg." Stu Grant said, in no particular order, Enter Sandman, Metallica, No Good, Start the Dance, The Prodigy, Open Up, Left Field, History Repeating, The Propellerheads, Songs of Love, The Divine Comedy, Locomotive, Guns N' Roses, Insomnia, Faithless, Teardrop, Massive Attack, Set in Sun, Chemical Brothers, Mr. Wendell, Arrested Development, and Phenomenon, LL Cool J. Kendra Gross Tapia. Now that's not how you say it, is it, Maria? How would you say it?
Tapia.
Tapia. And would the gross have the bit in it?
No, it wouldn't. It would. You could just be gross. I'm fairly certain that's an American name.
So
yeah.
Kendra Gross Tapia. Is that right?
Yep.
Thank you. She just says all of the Spice Girls songs. Very simple. Thank you, Kendra. After all that. Brandon Watson says, oh my gosh, so many. Under the Bridge, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Around the World by Daft Punk, House of Pain, Jump Around, You Get What You Give by New Radicals, and of course Richard Ashcroft's timeless classic Bittersweet Symphony. Oh, and my favourite drunken college karaoke song, Loser by Beck. Lisa Buchanan said, my 90s were pretty eclectic. I could belt out a song by Shania Twain in one breath and Britney Spears in the next. Here are some of my favourites. She's So High by Tal Bachman, Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls, Wonderwall by Oasis, Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana, Pretty Fly by Offspring, and Torn by Natalie Imbruglia. Karen Clark said the mid to latter half of the 90s were tough for me on a personal level, but here are 10 90s hits I liked. Stars, Simply Red, I'll Stand By You, Pretenders, Barbie Girl, Aqua, Angels, Robbie Williams, Killing Me Softly, The Fugees, Living La Vida Loca, Ricky Martin, Mambo No. 5, or Mango No. 5, as my beloved other half insists on calling it, Lou Bega, Nessun Dorma, Pavarotti, Blue Savannah by Erasure, and You Make Me Feel Mighty Real, Jimmy Somerville. Nikki Dennis Beck was a big part of my 90s for me. One of my favourite songs is Deborah from the album Midnight Vultures. I moved from Manchester to LA in the 90s, and the song Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis is iconic. Sorry, haha, that's fine. We'll let you have that one, Nikki. Not only at this time, but also since the tragedy at the arena a few years back. To round out my top three, I'll throw in Amish Paradise from Bad Hair Day by one of the nicest guys in the biz, Weird Al. At 100% holds up and is beloved by generations. Audrey Pearson says Mazzy Star's Fade Into You and Warren G and Nate Dogg's Regulate were two of the best of the decade. Lindsay Pananen said Battle Flag. Also Beck, Mazzy Star, Bjork, the Spice Girls, the Beastie Boys, U2, Pearl Jam, Alanis Morissette, Jewel, and Radiohead. Wink, wink,
Jewel.
pav. There you go. Had massive songs that defined a decade. So much goodness. This one is tough. Hats off to you both for tackling this top 10. I can't wait to hear. Thank you, Lindsay. And Kathy Cleary Fisher said, anything by Oingo Boingo. I feel like I saw them a million times at the San Diego State Amphitheater. Whew. There we go.
It's interesting that no one has gone for Out Here Brothers, Scatman John, or Right Said Fred.
I'm too sexy for my pants.
I'm sure those were number 11, 12, and 13 on your list, though, Ross, weren't they?
Yeah, along with Shakespeare's Sister as well.
Of course, of course.
But
there you go. There you go.
Choices.
We've done it. Now, Ross has to earn his money now. So before we say our goodbyes, Ross, would you like to tell everybody how they can get in touch with us and all that gubbins?
Absolutely. You can find us on all social media at Top10Pods. So you can email us at top10pods@hotmail.com if you want to get in touch, send suggestions, or ask anything you like. You can join our Patreon and support the podcast by going to www.patreon.com/top10pods, where there are great rewards, such as bonus episodes, video playlists, limited edition merchandise, and you can be a guest on your very own episode, like Maria here. Also, please come and subscribe to us on YouTube, TikTok, and all podcast providers, wherever you get your podcasts, with links to those in the show notes.
Thank you very much, Ross. Well done. Well done.
Thanks.
I don't know have I got claps on here? Oh, no, that's not claps, is it? Hang on. Let me have a look and see if I got claps. Have I got claps? Oh, there you go.
Pavo's always giving me the claps.
Well done, Ross. Well done, Ross. I'm glad I did that and I didn't
Thank you.
do that
Thank you
instead.
very much.
Maria, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being a top head. You'll come back and do another one, will you not?
Absolutely.
Yay! Wonderful. Because I'm just glad that you haven't just left us straight away and you've disconnected from the meeting and all stuff. That is honestly, it's been so nice to meet you and to chat to you. So what have you got planned? So now have we got to say congratulations to you as well?
Oh yes. So I have spent the last 6 weeks just plowing through all of my personal training certifications. So I have just completed my certified personal trainer certification, along with specializations in strength and conditioning, glute training. So,
Ooh.
if you want to get your butt right, it's all I'm all about it. Group exercise, nutrition, etc. I've been teaching yoga for 8 years, and because we move so frequently, I decided to add other specializations to my repertoire.
Excellent. And have you got a website and
Congratulations.
stuff like that?
Well, myself personally, no. However, I do teach online at honestsoulonline.com. And so we have all manner of yoga, fitness, live classes. So I teach live 4 days a week right now. And we have quite a few other instructors as well who are incredibly talented.
Excellent. Well, I'll put the link of that in the show notes. So if anybody wants to check that out, they can just hit the link.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. That was wonderful.
Well done.
We've done the 90s now. So we've done 90s number ones, 90s albums, and now 90s songs. So we can say goodbye, 90s. We've got nothing else to see. And I'm going to go and check out some of these wonderful songs and videos that we can check out. So once again, Ross, thank you so much for joining me.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. And thank you very much, Maria, for your support and for joining us. And we will see you again.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody else, for watching.
Lovely to meet you, Amira.
Love to meet you as well.
And let's go start the countdown.
10,